Good afternoon and welcome to the People's Verdict. This is the People's Program, and indeed today we have a special guest on the program to help us discuss various issues pertaining to the forthcoming Africa Freedom Day, which falls tomorrow on the 25th of May 2022. Africa Freedom Day was founded during the first conference of independence of African states, which attracted African leaders and political activists from various African countries in Ghana in April 15, 1958. The purpose of the day was to annually mark the liberation of the movements and progress to symbolize the determination of the people of Africa to free themselves from foreign domination and exploitation. And that's where we have themed our discussion there. We are looking at a political and economic independence for Zambia. In the studios, I'm joined by the Democratic Party President, Mr. KALABA, to help me discuss these issues. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, Soko. I'm happy to be here on this very important and prestigious program that you've invited me to.
We are glad that you could find time amidst your busy schedule.
It's always a pleasure. When Cabinet calls you, what can you do? You've got no option but to fit in their schedule.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, to just get us started with our conversation, I want us to reflect on the Africa Freedom Day. And the two underlining points we reflect on self-governance as well as independence from foreign domination as well as exploitation. But we're going towards 58 years of self-governance as Zambia. Are we economically and politically free? Your perspective on that?
First of all, Asoko, thank you so much. I would want to say that we celebrate with a lot of humility our founding fathers. And in here, I am thinking obviously of Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. I'm thinking of Leopold Senghor of Senegal. I'm thinking of Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. I'm also thinking of Anwar Sadat of Egypt. You know, these are founding fathers that congregated together to ensure that Africa is where it is. And of course, at some point, we have our very own Kenneth Kaunda, who came on the fore with Julius Nyerere, you know, and others in the region to ensure that Africa managed to reach its place where it is today. Politically, you'll recall that in the 1970s, 1960s, Africa began getting its independence from the various parts of Africa. You know, we saw it Mali, we saw Ghana, we saw eventually Zambia in 1964. We got our own independence, and the rest is history. Basically, political independence was about ourselves as Africans governing ourselves, and that's where we are today. As for economic independence, many African countries, Zambia is not an exception. They're still struggling with lack. They are still struggling with poverty amidst plenty. I mean, it's a stubborn fact that many minerals are domiciled right here in Zambia, and yet our people are still languishing. We have seen in our own country where people are being given dump sites called the Black Mountain on the Copper Belt. Yes. Instead of allowing people to be given cooperatives, then they begin buying shares in Mopani, shares in Kalumbila, Lumwana, and so on and so forth. Up to now, our leaders don't think Zambians are worth it to begin buying shares in mines.
Do you think they are worth it?
Zambians are worth it. When you look at countries like Chile, the Chileans, most of the shares are owned by the Chilean people. Zambia too should begin realizing that our wealth can only be safeguarded when it is in our hands. There's a saying in the northern region which says that if you mafia mushi, fabika na bakaya, meaning the wealth of a village is better off invested with the locals. Today, Soko, you have seen that all our mines, without exception, are owned by foreigners, meaning that the wealth of this country is deposited in the hands of foreigners. Remember that this country, 78% of our exports are coming from our minerals. As a result of that, it means that is the core for us as a country. That is the core. And because of that, Zambians really deserve to have space in our own minerals. I think they deserve to begin buying minerals. This is why we have told people that when we form government, we will ensure that Zambians begin buying shares in mines. They'll form cooperatives, not to go and congregate around the Black Mountain. They'll form cooperatives to begin buying shares in Mopani, to begin buying shares in Lumwana, and so on and so forth. What we are seeing today is proper slavery. It's dehumanizing that our leaders still feel that we are only supposed to go to a dump site. If a dump site was as important as our leaders are trying to tell us, you think those whites whom they have brought from Australia, those whites whom they have brought from Canada, Glencoe, you think they would have been in those mines? They would have been at the dump site. But because they know that the value which is at the dump site and the value which is at the actual mines are at variance, they are in the mines themselves, where beef and top soup is. And then they give you residues. And your government says these same residues form cooperatives. And you begin getting from there. That kind of behavior will come to an end when a leadership like that of Harry KALABA comes to government. We have to begin doing this. And what I'm proposing is not even in new Osoko. In Tanzania, you saw what Magufuli did.
Exactly.
The mines were saying, no, he told the mines, if you want, get out. The minerals will not rot. Did they go? They didn't. They paid the Tanzanian government well over $300 million. I don't know how much, but they paid them. And he used the money to even buy 3 aeroplanes. He used the money to begin buying medicines in hospitals from the mines. Today, as you and I are speaking, we are celebrating Africa Freedom Day tomorrow. What are we even celebrating in this country? Because 58 years after independence, you still find that these owners of the mines, today, this New Dawn government, they have given them tax holidays. Tax holidays for 5 years.
But the argument has been that they want to help them grow amidst the slow economic growth locally. But we also understand that the copper prices on the international market have been on the higher side. What's your take on that perspective?
Now that's why there's a catch. Government deliberately gives them 5 years of tax holidays, 5 years of tax holidays, so that they can enjoy for 5 years when copper is at its peak. Then they say no more paying of these mineral taxes. That is wrong. The same government has refused to give its own people, its own citizens. Government has refused to give them subsidies on fuel. Subsidies on fuel. But government has found it fit to give foreigners tax holidays, and they're failing to give their own people. Because if you are using the argument of production, if you're using the argument of production, it's the same thing. Even a taxi driver or a minibus driver, if he's given an incentive, he'll also do more production. Even a marketeer will order more if you give them incentives. It works in both ways. That's why they say mutembo ufina consequence. Not what we are seeing today. You are taking the country, literally taking the country, putting it in the hands of foreigners, and Zambians should be spectators. That is wrong.
And you started talking about the mining sector. Now, dwelling on the same mining sector, Mr. President, I want to get your perspective regarding the coming back of Vedanta, where they have opted to deal with these matters outside the court jurisdiction in view of reaching an agreement. And we just wanted to find out if at all you have taken a position on this matter, and how best do you think government should approach these matters?
Look, I mean, government has finally allowed Vendetta to come on board. The people of Chingola who are listening to us now, the people of the Copper Belt who are listening to us now, have suffered at the hands of Vendetta. They complained because Vendetta was not even paying their suppliers. They complained because Vendetta was not paying workers their due monies as was required. They complained because Vendetta was taking time, even on mining itself. The way their mining policy was, it was just going where there is an ore and they take it out and they leave the rest just like that. So people complained. Those issues have not been sorted out. What probably Vendetta has done, is just to be in good books with the UPND. That's all. And today, they are going to impose them again on the people of Zambia. We have seen again the president's good friend, is it Craig News? The Brain Trust Foundation, Oppenheimer, Anglo-American is coming back in this country. And from what we are hearing, Anglo-American will take over the gold in Mwinilunga. You remember the Kasenseni mines?
Exactly.
Anglo-American is poised through, is it Arc Mining, to take over, Arc Minerals, I think, to take over the minerals in Kasenseli. What type of a government is this? Even when they have an opportunity to give their own Zambian people to buy shares, because even you, Soko, you've got a 1,000 kwacha, you can go and buy a share in Mopani. Over the years, we'll start getting 100,000. Sometimes we buy shares not for our own selves, but for posterity, for our children. You buy it and your grandchildren who have shares in Mopani, they'll say our grandfather invested. That will be their heritage. We have minerals and yet the poverty levels in this country continue going up. That is why when we come into government, we are going to take this wealth and give it in the hands of Zambians. Shaka Sumine, I will not allow conglomerates to come and operate on their own without involving Zambians. It must be citizens first. It must be Zambians first. Even our own businessmen, we've got businessmen in this country who we should have even put at the disposal of these mines. We asked them, are you able to? But no. It is the president himself going to do deals in South Africa with those people who are sponsoring him, the Oppenheimers, and then he comes back and is imposing whatever they discuss during their luncheon and their book launches. He comes and imposes it on us. That is wrong. 58 years after independence, we are failing to identify even a Zambian who can be running our mines. Where is our pride? Go to Ghana. Go to the Ashanti region in Ghana. Go and see who's running their mines. Go and see who's got shares there. Go to Tanzania. Go and see their mining Tanzanite there. Go and see who is involved. Go to Gaborone, Botswana. Go and see who is involved also in buying shares and who is involved in the diamonds. But South Africa, De Beers. Go and see. We are the only country which doesn't believe that our people deserve to buy shares in mines, but they deserve to go at the dump site.
But with the approach we're taking in the mining sector, do you think we can benefit from the booming electricity vehicle industry?
How will you benefit? Because when you talk about vehicles being propelled by electricity, the European Union has said in the next 20 years, they are going to graduate from using diesel or petrol propelled vehicles. They have said they want to now migrate to using electric vehicles. One of the biggest components of electric vehicles, do you know it? One of the biggest components is cobalt. You are right, Soko. It's cobalt. Zambia is producing cobalt today. Zambia is producing cobalt from Luana. We are producing cobalt from Mopani, from KCM, from everywhere. But do you know that Zambia doesn't even stock anything as in terms of exports, in terms of cobalt? We don't record nothing. Zambia doesn't export cobalt, and yet where there is copper, there is cobalt. How come we are not exporting cobalt? We are only exporting copper. This is why we have said ourselves, a body like Memako, which was in charge of seeing that every company or every mining house which is exporting, Memako was overseeing to really be sure about the exact quantum of what is being exported. We have to begin realizing that, because you cannot be going to the IMF to borrow $1.3 billion and you're celebrating when the financial seepages you have in the mines are well over that. If we can just plug the holes where monies are being lost, Zambia can be in billions, but they can't do it. Because the moment they come into power, they are visited by those who are in the mines. They are also given, see, you can also be getting this. I don't need that money myself. I don't need it. I'm not a businessman. Well, somebody will say, but Harry KALABA also. Yes, I'm a very small-scale businessman myself. We do business, some of us, just to live and to exist and to buy petrol, take children to school. We don't do it at the scale, at the insatiable scale that others pursue it. That's the problem. Because when you are at that insatiable level, you want more money, more money, more money, and more money, which is not right. This country today, when you have a problem, I had a niece who was in hospital recently. She had a problem with issue of the veins in the brain. We can't do it in this country. Somebody has to go to India or Cape Town, 58 years after independence. When we have got 8 countries surrounding us, if there was one thing Zambia should be doing, it is health tourism. We need the Malawans to be coming here because Zambia should have been having the best doctors. We used to have doctors from Russia. We used to have doctors from India. We used to have doctors from everywhere. Egypt, they were coming here. Those doctors should come back. Let the new Dawn government bring back those doctors. Because today, when you look at the doctor-patient ratio, 58 years after our independence, it's a scam. It's a scandal. And nobody's talking about it. They're all quiet, quiet, quiet. Why are our leaders like this? Then when Harry KALABA speaks, somebody will say, oh, Harry KALABA is speaking, he was in government. But when he was in government, he didn't do that. I say, keep quiet. Because when I was in government, was I the president? I was given a specific portfolio called Foreign Affairs. And I acquitted myself very well in that Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now I'm saying, give me the presidency, try me and see. No, you can't, you can't. So, oh, I can't. Watch the space, what will happen? Maybe to be a tsunami.
Maybe that gives me an opportunity to ask you how you served as a Minister of Foreign Affairs. When we talk about people coming into the country, especially foreigners. During your time, did the Maasai people have work permits in Zambia? Because if you go to Comesa or these other areas, I think the population is on the rise. But yet we don't see anything being done by the immigration department.
Well, let me tell you the truth. Zambia is a member of Comesa, the common market for East and Southern Africa.
Which is accurate.
Zambia is a member of SADC. And Zambia is a member of the Great Lakes region. Because we are members of those bodies, we have relaxed our rules to allow members from Kenya under the auspices of Comesa
without a passport
to come here. No, they come with a passport, but we have relaxed their entrance into here. Nobody can come in the country. Even you cannot go into Kenya without a passport.
But some of them haven't been handling.
No, those are rumors. You are a journalist. Those are rumors, Soko.
And we have found some without those documents.
It doesn't mean there are Zambians who have been deported from countries because they went to do drugs or they went to do what. It doesn't mean when they are deported that is the policy of Comesa or that's the policy of those sovereign countries. There will always be people who will be on the other side of the law. But that doesn't defeat the precious opportunities that Comesa has placed before us. Comesa is encouraging you to go and trade in Uganda. Today, I did my university in Uganda. Today, you will see Waganda trekking from Kampala, coming into Lusaka selling matoke. Matoke is bananas, which they use for their food. Today, a Zambian can move from here to go and sell unga wamale in Kampala. You can go and sell in Cairo. You can go and it has basically, Comesa is basically opening up the opportunities for Zambians. So when you see the Maasai here, probably they're taking advantage of Comesa to come into Zambia. And we have seen women going under those Maasai legs and I've seen them, several of them. It's happening. It's part of the Comesa family.
It's good you've been moving.
Yes,
and you are abreast of those affairs.
Yes.
And talking about international trade, that brings me to another interesting component of international trade. We talk about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which Zambia is a member to, and we also deposited the instrument of ratification under the Patriotic Front administration. And though trade
I signed, actually.
Though trade is
on behalf of Zambia.
Yeah, trade is yet to start under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. There are some important components, Mr. President, I want you to tackle, because I see African countries, while looking at this trade, like in Zambia, our focus is on foreign direct investments and not Zambians themselves. So we see European-based companies now establishing base in Zambia. And logically thinking, as opposed to indigenous Zambians benefiting from trade under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, we may be seeing the Europeans, who are actually the major financiers of the African Union, benefiting more from the trade as opposed to indigenous citizens, which you, Mr. President, want to ensure that they are empowered.
Look, first of all, as you are speaking, what is coming to my mind, it's the thinking of leaders like Ben Bella of Algeria, you know, Sékou Touré of Guinea. You know, the thinking of these leaders was that at some point, Africa must be borderless.
Exactly.
In fact, fast forward, even when you come to the terror, or not the terror, the reign of Muammar Gaddafi of Libya.
Yes.
The thinking was that Africa must be borderless, because our skin as Africans disadvantages us a lot, and that we can only have an advantage against those who think they're more privileged than we are by uniting, because there is strength in unity.
Exactly.
Now, we are seeing, yes, that the European Union is, companies from the European Union are coming into the country, Americans are coming in. There's nothing wrong with that. Remember, Zambia is a member of the African Union, but Zambia is also a member of the United Nations.
Exactly.
And in the United Nations, everybody is talking about trade. That is why African countries now come to segment themselves, as we are in the southern region, as we are in the eastern region, as we are in the Comesa, and that kind of stuff, to see how we can advantage ourselves. Basically, it is a bit more difficult for a European firm to set up a company in Africa as compared to a Nigerian firm setting up in Africa, or a Zambian firm setting up base in Nigeria. That's why you find that Zambif is in Nigeria. They're selling, and they're in Ghana. They're selling beef in those countries. It's one continent. It just depends how you position yourselves and how you take advantage of the environment.
Interesting. And now I want to get your perspective. You also touched up a bit about electricity. Now we have a new pronouncement from ZESCO, who have applied to the Energy Regulation Board that they would want the connection fees never to be subsidized, and to go to a tune of about 4,000 per connection. Now, how attainable is that, considering that most citizens are in low-income areas? And how can we achieve inclusive access to electricity as a country if we are going to be increasing the fees?
Well, I mean, there you go, because the job of any government, on this planet Earth, is to make it easy for their citizens. The moment government begins insisting on cost-reflective tariffs, we will have a problem. Because most citizens, as you've rightly put it, Soko, are in low-income brackets. It means they cannot even afford to connect power from a pole to their houses. How many Zambians today have seen 4,000 in the last 2 weeks? How many of them? Some people will finish a year without seeing how 4,000 looks like. So basically what government is telling you and I is that electricity now will be for some privileged few. That is not the way it should be. It is the job of government. It's only capitalists who insist on ensuring that there must be value for this. But the job of government is to take power even while there's no production, but they're citizens. The job of government is to make a road where there's no industry, but there are people staying there. The job of government is to ensure that they encourage Zamtel, Airtel, and whoever, MTN, to go to places, far-flung places, as long as they are within the breadth and width of Zambia. They provide a service to their own citizens. That is the problem which we have with these people here. Job on training. They are looking at things from a view of what can the rich people benefit from this. They are allowing companies to monopolize the weak people. They are allowing companies to make super profits at the expense of our poor people. In this country today, you are saying, Central Statistics is telling you that we have 60% of people who are not employed in this country. And we have got a very weak informal sector. We have an informal sector that basically depends on government to give it deals, to give it contracts. Without that, they are not going to function. That is the problem which we have here. So, if you have that kind of a scenario, government must begin to understand its times. Why can't we pick a leaf from Rwanda? Rwanda is coming from the genocide of 1994, where close to 1 million people died. And yet today, Rwanda, they have got a program called One Child, One Computer program under the auspices of the education program. Today in Rwanda, I think is it about 75 or 80% of households in Rwanda have got access to electricity. Why? Kagame and his people, they are realized that if our people don't have access to internet, they don't have access to electricity, the levels of development will be very limited. So for us to move together with the global world, we have to pull our people out of this. It's a deliberate program. And in fact, Rwanda doesn't even follow the World Bank model of governance. They have got their own thing which they call the homegrown solutions. This is what I intend to do, or we intend to do, when we form government. Each country has got its own peculiar problems. The New Dawn government, they are doing exactly the same thing that the PF were doing. Same things. What is just difference is that those were wearing green and these are wearing red. Those were, the president was Edgar Lungu, now this one is Akainde Hichilema. That's not the change Zambians are looking for. Zambians are looking for radical change, where the foreigners who are running the mines will be told, Ichivere Shichi has to come to an end, because the Zambian people, that person in Lukulu, that person in Kaputa, that person, they are expecting me, whom they have elected, to talk for them. And I'll face them in the eye and will tell them the game is over.
In case you are just joining us, you are watching The People's Verdict with me, Patrick Soko, and in the studio, I'm joined by the Democratic Party President, Mr. Hari Kalaba. We have been talking various issues pertaining to economic and political freedom for Zambia ahead of the Africa Freedom Day, which falls on the 25th of May 2022. This is an annual event, and tomorrow we'll be doing just that as Zambians to reflect on how much progress we are making in terms of self-governance, as well as restraining ourselves from exploitation, from interference from foreign interests. And just now, you were talking about capitalist tendencies, which are also more common under democracy. I want to understand what political philosophy does the Democratic Party espouse?
Look, I think it's a long thing that people were saying, for us it is this. It's a mixture that we do. It's a mixture which embraces a bit of capitalism, a bit of social democratic principles, a bit of... So it's a mixture of this and that to look at Zambia's problems. Zambia's problems cannot be sorted out by one philosophical political ideology. You can't. Where you need to apply capitalistic policies, you will. Where you need to apply, I was telling you about taking electricity to areas where that is socialism, where people, even those that are poor, should access power. We have said we are going to do that because we have to balance. We have to balance. Both the rich and the poor need to feel the weight of governance. They need to feel the weight of leadership, which currently we don't have. The biggest deficit this country has, we have got only 3 major problems in this country. The first one is leadership, the second is leadership, and the third, is leadership.
Thank you very much for your perspective, Mr. KALABA there. Now I want also to talk about the issue that is also has been we've been covering, especially in our news, the issue pertaining to land, and we are seeing more and more Zambians, and especially the poor, being displaced, and we are seeing foreigners owning land. Imagine. And the Chinese people are now selling land to Zambians. If you go the 10 miles, 6 miles, you find them selling land to foreigners.
When I was lands minister, the records are there for you to go and check. I was lands minister from 2012 to 2013. When I was lands minister, I never allowed any Chinese, any foreigner to own land. What we only permitted was to lease. A Zambian like you, Soko, can lease to them, not for them to get title. It is degradation of the highest order to have a foreigner sell land to you who was born and bred here in this country. I was foreign minister, privileged to be one among many in this country. I went to China. The Zambian embassy, even today, is renting from a Chinese. China has not given us land, even on a bilateral basis. Maybe now they've given them. But when I was there, it's an issue I raised with my counterpart in Beijing. And I said, we have given you land as Zambians. Why are you failing to give us land? So it means we are also going to withdraw that land and allow you to begin renting from a Zambian. Because that is what has been happening. We are paying $25,000 a month at our embassy in Beijing to a Chinese. Here in this country, we have allowed them to own land and begin selling land. When we come into government, we will not allow a foreigner, and this I say it without any apology, we will not allow a foreigner to own land in this country. But we will allow them to lease so they can empower Zambians. They are free to go and rent a farm. Maybe lease is a different. They are free to go and rent a farm. They are free to go and rent a small holding. They are free to go and rent, not to own. Title must be in the hands of a Zambian. Because the moment you keep on giving land to outsiders, Palestine will have given your whole country to outsiders. They will tell you for many people. There is a saying, you receive them, you receive a visitor who is very influential more than you. He will take your position. So you have to be careful. Even ourselves as a people, there are things you don't do. In Botswana today, even if you marry a Swana, Soko, even if you stay in Botswana for 20 years or 50 years, 100 years, you will not be allowed to own land. In Botswana here, our neighbors, they will not allow you. In Saudi Arabia, even if you go and marry a Saudi, and you stay, they will not allow you to own land. As foreign minister, I couldn't, as lands minister, I didn't allow. But today, there are things. You've received visitors in your own house. There are things, Soko. Even if that visitor is so wealthy whom we have received, you will not say, oh, if you have Maukati, you don't do that. There are certain things which should be a preserve for your own people. And the land is one of them.
We are seeing our welders just along Kalingalinga being displaced, as opposed to them receiving empowerment. Have you taken an interest in that since you've been visiting people?
I have taken an interest, not only of welders. Kalingalinga here, where we are here, Kalingalinga is somewhere his side?
Just there.
Here? Kalingalinga, Soko. Ida frontage ya Kumsevo area. It was all owned by Zambians.
Exactly.
Today it is Zambians, not out of their own volition, but because of the poverty levels in our country. Zambians have sold that frontage, mostly to Chinese and Lebanese. And they're the owners of that. In the next 10, 15 years, I will not be surprised if the Speaker of the National Assembly will be Chinese in this country at the pace we are going. Because if you can give them land, take them to parliament as well. Why can't they be members of parliament? If they own land, if they are the ones who've got the means to capital.
We have seen such a maneuver where they wanted to be police officers.
Yes, under this past regime. Until there was an uproar. Makanganja was giving them rank C and Shan. We were even seeing them driving GRZ vehicles. A thing that doesn't happen in Beijing. There is what they call bilateral relations at the foreign perspective. And bilateral relations normally, they work on reciprocity levels. Reciprocal. Scratch my back, I scratch yours. What you give me, I'm also going to give you from this end. But because of this corruption which we are used to in this country, we overgive them. My ministers verse more. So I'm telling you, they even don't eat Chinese. They don't even eat Wali no, but they have stopped. They are eating Chinese food. No Chinese. Your food is very good. Your food is corruption. How? When did their food become better than your food? Today, because of you don't have a strong disposition, you want to tell them if you have smoke, if you have that's what they're doing. And they're taking advantage of you. We don't have leaders who can stand up for their people. Where is the spirit of Kenneth Kaunda in this country? Where is the spirit of Masaka Pwepo? We're celebrating Africa Freedom Day tomorrow. Where is the spirit of Nkumbola? Where is the spirit of Ruben Kamanga? Grace Zulu? Where is the spirit of Mongoni Liso? Where has it gone? Mary Fulano. Where is that spirit of my own father, Simon KALABA? At least the son is here. And is standing up for injustices to their own people. If we don't stand up for you, Soko, if people like me don't stand up for you, this country is gone. Because we have capitalists. We have puppets who are busy to sell for anything for as long as they make money. That's where we are now as a country. It's terrible.
We, according to the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflections, JCTR, the cost of living hasn't been on a softer side, especially for low-income earners. We see for a family of 5 living in the city of Lusaka, it is starting about 9,000 kwacha. Now, what does it mean, especially when it comes to the country fighting poverty in the as we clock 58 years this year? What does that mean? Are we being sincere on the fight against poverty?
I think this is a discussion we had in the beginning.
Exactly.
Of economic independence as well as political independence. The Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection has basically put it about, is it 9,000?
Yes. For
a family living in a place like this and Copperbelt to survive. How many people are getting 9,000 a month? How many? There are very few. How many people are living 9 in their houses? Most of them, because Soko is working, your young brother is probably staying with you. Sometimes now it is nephews who are looking after their uncles. Sometimes it's, so you go in a house of Soko, maybe they're 12. And they're all just depending on you to get your meager salary to look after them. That is the challenge that this country is faced with. But coupled with that, Soko, the biggest deficit that we have is that we have leaders who are failing to talk for their people. Today you have workers in ShopRite. Today you have workers in PAPE. Today you have workers at Sifao. You have workers all over owned by these private institutions and even quasi-government institutions. The Minister of Labor is quiet. Quiet. All that the Minister of Labor is doing is buying perfume when she goes for these meetings where she's busy looking at she's busy looking at which perfume. She comes back. She has never spoken for anybody. When was the last time you brought her here? Because go and look at the wages ShopRite workers are getting. Go and look at the monies that people are getting. We don't even pay attention to the minimum wage anymore. We don't. Why? Because our leaders have become compromised. They have taken special interests as their own. They have taken foreign interests as their own. And it is in this country under the previous regime where we used to see workers under COVID being kept for 90 days. And the minister is quiet, saying, no, they can spread the virus. But you all know they can spread the virus. You are not spreading the virus. Only those poor people can spread the virus. Is that how it is, Soko? I think we have a situation where our people have become so vulnerable. So vulnerable. They can abuse them. They can talk to them down. Go in ShopRite there and see. They can do what and nobody will talk for them. Nobody. Today we have our farmers. Our farmers, we're not even giving them incentives. Up to now we have allowed cornflakes to come here at very cheaply they're coming here. Today we have allowed milk. We are drinking our milk from Uganda. Drinking milk from Uganda. What kind of a country are we 58 years after independence? And we allow it? Today as we are speaking, our soya chunks are coming from Tanzania. Soya chunks. We are growing soya beans here in Mukushi. They get the soya beans from Mukushi and they take it to Dar es Salaam to go and mill it. And then all those things, Soko, are not working right. What we need as a country, is to begin giving premium to our people. We give them respect. That is why you people now are even flying flags. All over you are flying these flags, these strange flags. You are flying them. And you're not even talking about them.
What do you mean strange flags, Mr. President? Be specific.
There was that flag you are flying for LGBTQ. What was the meaning of that? Soko. And you were there, you Soko. I saw you even smiling at the flag. What were you smiling at? There at the EU thing. Soko was there.
That accusation.
Soko. I saw you. Those flags you are flying for LGBTQ, our position is that we will not allow that. Zambia is a Christian nation. Yesterday I followed the whole program here, which was at, and congratulations. Congratulations, Wakamnet. You are doing a commendable job. Commendable job. Yesterday my wife and I were having dinner while watching Wakamnet, following the discussion that was on. We still have people in this country. We still have the Reverend Mutales of this world who in their poverty are able to stand up and call sin by its rightful name. Even in our poverty to talk about this. Up to now, you have been meeting the president, you at the EU there, you met him when he was having that thing. Why are you not asking him about that flag of LGBTQ? Ask him, why isn't he talking about it? What kind of government is this? Why have they kept quiet? I raised the challenge myself. I said, well, foreign affairs, when I was foreign affairs minister, in 2015, 2016, the EU had applied to fly those flags. I declined. I said, this is not in our law. You cannot fly these flags. And the Vienna Convention here, I think it's Article 31, 32, somewhere there, if I can remember very well, is very clear. You can't fly this flag because it's against our constitution, it's against our land. How come these today they have flown them? Where the president was at Mulungushi, it was flying on the EU day. Why was it flying? And the president has kept quiet. Why has he kept quiet? How come there was a workshop in Siavonga and nobody's talking about it?
But the president did say that his position on this matter.
When did he say it?
That during the press briefing with the media.
When?
He did indicate at State House. At
Which
State
press
House.
briefing?
At State House. First? Yes, actually the second one. Because it was there was a concern that this donor funding is being tied to issues of LGBT. And the president said Zambia does not subscribe to that notion. Though even after we like the program we aired yesterday, we were also informed of his stance that they are not actually subscribe to those issues.
No, it's difficult to believe the president because the president is a sweet talker. You should be careful. The president is a child.
And you also been a sweet talker?
No, me I'm not. Me I call sin by its rightful name. Me I'm not here telling you that I'm going to by 10 hours I'm going to do this. But I'm not doing that because I know how government operates. He told you that story, and you Soko, you were even the first one, 04. I saw you at the polling station, going to vote for those people. But listen, Soko, that's okay.
So me in many places.
That's okay. That's okay. Because my brother, I'm using you as my tribal cousin.
Exactly.
I know you are not there, Soko. But Soko, listen. The president is a charmer. The president will speak sweet a lot of things which won't even happen. That is not good. He is a president. He's not a celebrity. That's why you see him, he still calls himself Bali. Kwena fe panganda, you have got a father, ali mifiala mwevana. Akongi defa udati, inini nebo Bali, nini nebo Bali, nini nebo Bali. So, shana watatabu Bali uvu, watatabu shebali fe wino. So, that's also a problem. He must desist, he must slow down. Go to France. France is the second biggest economy after Germany in Europe. That guy called the French president, he's rarely, when he appears on social media, it's not to communicate government policy. He'll communicate his personal things. Today we have seen even serious government pronouncements are being done on social media. That is why social media today is being turned into all kinds of things, because even serious things from the head of state is social media. There must be a difference in the way the president communicates to his people. Yes, we are in a generation that has gone so viral on social media and stuff. But government must know that government is a traditional government. There is a way government operates. And the head of state must constantly keep himself in check, as opposed to what we are seeing. It's a problem. So he denied. Didn't he tell us that he was going 10 hours, he would do this? Did it happen? Wasn't it the president himself who was trying leniency at the press briefing, and we have found out that up to now he has been challenged by the DPP to remove the oath of secrecy from her. Up to now the president has elected silence, because he knows that those press briefings he's having where he's telling us half-truths, he will be exposed. So now the president has refused to remove the thing of the oath of secrecy from Sioni. Why is the president dilly-dallying? Why is he dilly-dallying? And you, sir, are not asking those questions.
We have asked.
You have not. I haven't seen. I was watching. We didn't see you. Alex, did we see him asking that question? We didn't see you. You should be asking questions, yo.
Interesting. In case you're just joining us, you are watching The People's Verdict, and we are discussing issues pertaining to economic and political freedom for Africa. And we will be in our 9 minutes of our program with my guest, Mr. Hari KALABA. And just before, as we go towards the end of our conversation, Mr. KALABA, I want also to get your perspective regarding how best as a country we need to ensure that we achieve self-rule in terms of even some of the policies or governance issues pertaining to, for instance, road construction, which is still mostly predominantly being done by foreigners. Yes. Let's also zooming on the issue of education. How best can we ensure that we also have a blueprint on Zambian on the Zambian perspective of the education, because we are still, our curriculum is still largely dominated by foreign content, and we are not yet working on that. Let's talk about technology. How can we zoom in on those three issues and make progress as a country using indigenous solutions?
That is why I'm happy. The other day I was watching a program with my wife, Irene. We are watching a program, is it on Zambezi Magic? I was watching in Pali.
Exactly.
You know, my wife likes watching that soap opera. So I sat down to watch that thing with, and I was happy that our own Zambians are becoming celebrities. We have to begin appreciating our own. There is no reason for me to celebrate a CNN anchor, and I live an ethical person. I live an enthusiastic young man. I live a person who has got character in Soko like you, who's able to face me and take me on for 1 hour without blinking. That is not a character you find along the street. That is reserved quality which you have in you. We should be able to acknowledge that and invest in our own. But there is this trend of just wanting anything from outside, even our own local stars. I saw them busy posing with Nigerian actors. Just our own is sufficient. I would like to see Mr. Nguzu, you know, and shake his hand and say, Mr. Nguzu, you are doing it right. We all get glued to watching you and the way you do your acting. I would like to shake hands with all these celebrities we have. Shaking hands with you, Soko. I mean, we watch you every day on TV. You are not an ordinary face. So we should begin celebrating our own. In the same token, we should also migrate to businesses. When you go to Egypt, the Egyptians build their own roads. They build their own buildings. The Egyptians do their own things there. Why is it that for us here, even Zescopos, we have to get outsiders to give us Zescopos? Zescopos, we have to ask outsiders. Why? We must learn to give Zambians an opportunity. This is the only country they have. And then you will see, when I become president, you can't have 58 years after independence. You have ShopRite. It has ShopRite. It's fully owned by South Africans. When you go to Rwanda, Rwanda is a small country. Rwanda is only 17,000 square kilometers. 27,000 square kilometers. And yet Rwanda doesn't have ShopRite. They have Nakumatt. 50% South Africans, 50% Rwandese. The same in Kenya. Here it's 100%. When they get the money, Stanbic or Stanchart, South Africa, the money goes. Where are the Zambians in this? I remember President Mugabe, when we were attending a side decades of state summit in Bulawayo in Zimbabwe, he raised it. I said, Zambia, you had your own ZCBC stores. We had our own Mwaiseni here. Zimbabweans were coming from Zimbabwe, coming to buy in Mwaiseni. We have abandoned that. We had NIEX stores in this country. We abandoned them. We used to make vehicles in this country. When we come back, we are going back to that. We have to begin making vehicles here. You can't allow a country like Rwanda or Michila. You have got cobalt, you've got copper here. We should be making batteries of Samsung here in this country, because we have got the biggest component of a battery. Yeah, Samsung. Ni cobalt, na manganese. We have got all those things. Lulu mbife Rwamulanda. Development ya wango wali wambu sawa soko. Wakude uchenjele. If you have a leader, wakuti loko wamposela anka. Where are you going to go? You should be able to say, Chibeleshi, no, give me space. The people of Zambia first. You can ask the people at Foreign Affairs. Ask the people at Ministry of Lands when I was Minister at Lands. There was no time I would leave a Zambian to see them first before I see a Chinese or a Lebanese. In fact, I would tell them, he came first. Yes, because sometimes these officers would say, oh no, he's in a hurry. Our minister, he just came. I said, if he's in a hurry, let him get out. Let him go. I'm going to see those who have got time for me, not those who want me to see them at their own time. Today, what you are seeing, go to these offices of these ministers. Half of the people visiting them, Ma Lebanese, Ma Chinese, and I'm Zambians that, oh, Zambi to Milan for now, call you to me, was my offices. But why are the Lebanese coming? Why are the Chinese coming? Why? Because they know why they are going there. That trend will come to an end.
On that note, we've come to the end of our program, and this has been the People's Verdict, and in conversation have been discussing with the Democratic Party President, Mr. Hari Kalaba, and we have been talking about various issues.
No, but before we talk about various issues, I told you that I wanted to give out numbers, because people would want to talk to Mr. Alex Chikankatika, our media director. If you want to talk to him, he's on 0977, 077 1841 777. 0771 84 1777. Then you have got the number for Mr. Mashindi Ntambu. Is on 0977 86 12 92. 0977 86 12 92. And these are the numbers that you should talk to. There's Mr. Chintu, our Deputy National Secretary, is on 0977 41 42 74. 0977 41 42 74. And of course, my own number, if you want to get in touch with me, Soko.
Yes, you've been insisting on this, your number, and you are willing to speak to everyone. So the last time I had allowed you under your protest, of course, but I had to make that consideration because you had insisted, and
yes,
you had to do that. And like they say that you can be in touch with the Democratic Party president and their media team so that you can get the conversation going. Remember, ours is a platform for objective issues to ensure that we discuss various issues pertaining to national matters, and we were been talking about issues pertaining to political and economic freedom ahead of Africa Freedom Day. Until next week when we come with another episode of The People's Verdict, this has been Patrick Soko. Stay tuned and continue watching Kamni TV. Remember, Kamni TV is not just another channel.